year again. It's hurricane season. This is 2021. Last year was pretty rough. Some years are worse than others. But we know it's coming. And as people who care for our families, we're going to take steps to prepare. Hi, I'm Gil, and this is Strategic Prepper, and this is our hurricane checklist overview. So follow me, and we're going to take a look at 2 basic approaches to hurricanes. One of those is staying put, staying in place, and the other is evacuating. Anyone who stays put must always have a plan to evacuate because things could take a turn for the worse. So follow me. We want to start our list with water. The government, whether it's FEMA or groups like Red Cross, will tell us to have 3 days of food and water. We all know from recent experience that 3 days is not going to often be enough. You look at Katrina, you look at Lake Charles, so 3 days is all right if you're on the road trying to get to a destination, but if you're staying in your house, we recommend a minimum of 7 to 10 days of food and water, or if you really want to step it up and take care of your family, 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, so with water, for staying in the house, there's several different ways to store water. Down here, we can see we've got water containers. Each of these are 6 or 7 gallons. And that holds, we're talking 30, and this one over here, so 35 gallons. When it comes to water, how much is enough? The normal standard is 1 gallon per person per day. That takes care of drinking, that takes care of sanitation and other needs like that. 1 gallon per person per day of good potable water. Potable water means water that you can drink, that's safe to drink. So we've got these large containers, but they can be heavy. This container is 7 gallons. And if you guys remember from elementary school, a pint is a pound all the world round. That means 1 gallon is 8 pounds. And 8 times 7, that's 56 pounds. That's a little heavy for some people. So you may want to take and store some of your water in smaller containers. These are gallon-sized containers. So we've got larger containers, we've got smaller containers, as well as on the other side of this, we've got some bottled water too. So for inside the house, we've got some storage containers. I want to show you another option as well. Let's head to the kitchen. In addition to storing your water in soda bottles, in water jugs, another great place is to store your water in the bathtub. But ooh, the bathtub, I don't think I'll ever be that thirsty to drink out of a bathtub. But one of the things that I think that everyone should have is a device called a water bob. Basically what a water bob does is it provides a bag that fits in your bathtub, and you turn your bathtub into a reservoir. I think every family ought to have one. It's great for hurricane preparedness. You can get 30, 40, or 50 gallons of drinkable or potable water in your bathtub. So it never touches the surface of the bathtub. Water bob, a great tool for hurricane preparedness. A few other items that we've got is water filters. We want to make sure that if we do run out of water, that we've got a water filter that can keep the water clean, keep our family safe. Another item, this is an individual water filter. It's a life straw. Basically, it works like a straw, and a person would suck the water straight from the ditch, straight from a pond or a puddle. So you want to make sure that you can filter. Also, you can treat your water with these tablets, very cheap, and they work. So everyone should have some tablets in their kit. This is great for your bug out kit as well, as is your life straw. Another thing is that you may have to transport water. Let's say you're parked on the side of the road, you're bugging out, traffic has stopped, you need to go get some water for the family, maybe you need to bathe, rest stop is up a little bit ways, you want to carry it back to the car. A bucket like this folding bucket would be a good addition to have. Very small, very compact, but as you can see, it unfolds and you've got a very large bucket that is very solid and very durable and is designed to hold water. In fact, it has a measurement to tell you how much water you've got. All right, so for water, 7 to 10 days in the house, either have the water or have a capability of cleaning water. I think it should be a combination of both. I've shown you a couple of filters, but if you want to step it up a notch, we've got the Berkey filter over here, and this thing holds several gallons. It's a little on the high end, but it's extremely effective. Love the water that comes out of there. Berkey filter, great device. So you can get smaller filters, or you can step it up and get a Berkey filter. But either way, you need to make sure that you've got the water and you got the ability to clean water for 7 to 10 days, or even better, up to 3 weeks if you're staying in the house. 3 days in your vehicle if you're bugging out or if you're evacuating. So you still want to make sure you've got the filter when you evacuate as well. So food, same thing. Minimum 7 to 10 days in the house for food. Better is 2 to 3 weeks. You want to have food that's pre-made. Either doesn't need heating or no preparation. You just open up the can, heat it up, and like this Sweet Sue chicken and dumplings. Very easy meal. Put it in, warm it. It's a meal, good to go. Along with that, you want to make sure you have a manual can opener. You may not have power, and if you do have some type of temporary power, you don't want to use it running can openers if you've got a manual can opener. For evacuating, backpackers' meals are probably a better way to go. This particular one does not need to be heated. It has a heating pack inside. You just pour water in and it reacts with it, and you have a warm meal. Other types include this Mountain House, where you got to add boiling water, or your standard MRE, or meal ready to eat. These military meals, you can eat straight out of the bag, or they can be heated up. They also have a heating pack that comes with it, but the MRE provides a full meal. In fact, this has enough calories. An MRE actually provides 2 meals for me, so a lot of calories there. If you're on the road, you may not want to carry a can opener that large. Get yourself a smaller can opener. It takes a little bit more effort to use, but it still works. All right, so that's food, and that's water. All right, so if you're staying put, you may not have power. We talked about the meal, but you are going to want to be able to heat that meal if possible. You're also going to want to be able to heat water. Who doesn't want coffee during a hurricane? So you're going to have to be able to heat the water for a coffee. I would recommend that you have instant coffee. That's just easier to prepare during an emergency situation. So easier to prepare during an emergency situation, have instant coffee. But you need to have a way to easily heat that water. So let's go ahead and go outside and take a look at an option for that. So if you're staying at the house, you need to have some alternate way to cook your food, to heat up your water. You may have to boil water. You're going to need water for coffee. So a good little camp stove, like this butane stove, would be helpful. But you want to make sure you also have enough fuel. And this is 4 cans. This would be plenty for a week. But me, I've got more like 30 cans. So I'm not going to run out on this stove. So it's important to make sure that you have some way to cook your food and heat your water, other than from in your kitchen. One final note on the meals I failed to mention. You do want to have some way of cooking the meals. This is a titanium camper's pot. Very lightweight, easy to put on a fire while you're camping. You want to have some way of preparing that. Also, a nice camping spoon, fork, knife unit. You should have several of these, as well as paper plates, paper cups, and other supplies that you would need to have a meal. So it's basically like a camping trip or a picnic. Make sure you've got those supplies. So if you are bugging out, you're in your vehicle. We just looked at the camp stove for an alternative when you're in the house. You don't want to carry something that bulky when you're traveling on the road. An option is the backpackers stove. Okay, this backpacker stove hooks onto the fuel, and you have a very small but very effective burner that you can heat water and heat your meals. How are you going to light these fires? You need several different options. One is storm-proof matches. You want to make sure they're in a waterproof container. Hurricanes bring a lot of rain. There might be flooding. You want to protect your matches. So you got these storm-proof matches in a waterproof container. A lighter and a ferro rod where you use sparks. So that's 3 different methods. You should have at least 2 different methods to start fires with you at the house and when you're evacuating. If you are evacuating, I would suggest that you also have some fire starter. This is a Go Fire. It basically is very easy to light, burns hot, and if you're burning wood or something else, this will help you get that started real easy to get started. Definitely a necessity. A couple other things that if you're bugging out that you might want to have is some hand warmers that help you stay warm because temperatures do drop. And you'll want to have an emergency blanket, 1 for each person. The basic space blanket is an aluminized sheet, very lightweight, not very comfortable, but they are effective. I actually prefer an upgrade to that, and this is an Endure blanket, and this blanket here does the same thing as a space blanket, a little bit more comfortable, a little bit larger, but either one of those is effective. All right, next I want to talk about power. So let's talk first about evacuating. You may have to leave your vehicle. You may have to park for the night. You don't want to run your vehicle when gas is a premium, so you've got to have power for your cell phones. I like to use a solar charger. This is a solar charger and a battery pack. So you can put this on the dash, let the sunshine charge the battery pack, or you can plug this into the car and keep this charged up. So at nighttime when you need to recharge your cell phones, this will charge several phones before it goes dead. So you want to have this cell phone charger, something like this, in your bug out pack. Let's go outside and let's take a look at some other power options. All right, if you are staying in the house, you're bugging in, you do want to have some type of alternate power for your house. What I've got here is a gasoline generator, 3,200 watts of output, and this is what we used last year. Very effective. We also had a portable air conditioning unit that this was able to run, as well as run our freezer or refrigerator. So you want to have a generator. You want to make sure that you safely use it. For example, make sure you've got a proper grounding rod, and make sure you're attached to the grounding rod. Also, fuel, you've got to have enough fuel. Based on our usage last year, I increased to 4 of these 5-gallon cans. That's 20 gallons. Plus I've got 3 smaller cans. So that's another 5 or 6 gallons. So I've got about 25, 26 gallons. And that'll last probably through most hurricanes and recoveries. You want to make sure that you treat your fuel with a fuel stabilizer. A lot of the gasoline has got alcohol in it, which will degrade between seasons, so you want to stabilize that. And also, make sure you have enough power cords. Make sure the cords are long enough to reach where you need them to reach. Make sure they're thick enough gauge to handle the power, the amperage that you need to carry. All right, so one of the challenges with this generator is that it uses gasoline fuel, so you have to store that. And that may be something that you either do not or cannot do. You do not want to or you cannot do. So there are other alternatives. So for a look at a solar generator that has a little bit less power, but is also pretty effective, let's go to Gil Jr., and he's going to talk to you about his Jackery.
All right, hey guys, it's Gil, Strategic Prepper. So I'm here to talk about my current setup for alternative energy. This is a good option for alternative power, especially if you're looking at storms and whatnot. And this actually can be pretty useful just in everyday life. But this is a Jackery 500. Now there's other companies, so definitely do your research. I happen to go with this one for a few reasons. One of them being it was a known brand. So some of these other brands it's harder to find reviews on and whatnot. So I knew this one was going to work. It works for what I need. Now, the 500 means that this has a max capacity here of 500 watts. Okay, so it can run some things, but there's a lot of things it cannot run. Okay, you're not going to run a space heater off of this. Generally, your space heaters are going to be like 1500 watts, right? 750, 1500. It will run a laptop. It will charge power tools. It will run a CPAP machine. This thing will also power portable refrigerators. You can keep this thing charged up. So you see here, mine's at 98%. So it comes with a flashlight. Of course, hey, we're talking about preparedness, right? So we already have flashlights, but that's always a good feature to have. You can recharge this with solar. Yeah, this is a great alternative or an addition to your gasoline generator.
All right, thanks, Gil. Appreciate that discussion on that Jackery. Seems like an excellent option for a generator. One of the nice things about having a generator is it gives you options. I live in South Central Louisiana, and without power, it can be kind of unbearable because the air conditioner is out. One of the things that we did last year and was very helpful during the hurricane season is we went and got this portable air conditioning unit by GE. This is good for a single room. It was very effective during the hurricane. Kept us very comfortable. So even though the power's out, we ran this off of our generator. I think that if you're in an area that is impacted by potential high heat, you should have some way to keep your house cool. It's a lot better than a fan, and it's a lot better than sweating through the nights. So this ran off of our generator, and our refrigerator also ran as well. So it doesn't require all that much electricity. So great addition to your hurricane preps for the home. Now let's take a look at some tools for the home. If you're staying put, you may find out that after the storm, you've got some cleanup work to do. One of the things that you're going to need is some tools. Hand tools are better in the sense that they don't require any electricity, any power. You want to make sure that you get a collection of different hand tools. You can see I've got an axe, I've got shovels, I've got rakes, I've got a pick, I've got a mattox. So I've got several of these tools. Those are some basic tools that a person should have. Axe, mattox, rake, chainsaw is very important. You can't see it, it's buried underneath, but I do have a chainsaw on the bottom shelf. You also need a variety of hand tools, including an important thing is a crowbar. You see, I've got a very long crowbar. You may have to move some debris, and that'll be a very important tool. I've also got additional tools in the garage, so I've got a much larger collection. This is just an example of some of the hand tools that you want to make sure that you've got. So the key things: crowbar, chainsaw, axe, rake, shovel. Those are some of the basic tools. Okay, let's go inside. Now, one tool that every homeowner ought to have is a utility shutoff tool. This is a tool that's got a fitting for gas and a fitting for your water so that you can shut those off in an emergency. Key thing with this is it's not used very often. So you want to make sure that you store this in a way and in a location that's easy to find. Don't put it in a drawer somewhere. You won't find it when you need it. Put it on the wall, put it in the garage so that people can see it and you can find it when you need it. So a couple of tools that you should have when you're bugging out. This is a multi-tool. It's got a plier, knife, it's got scissors, several different screwdrivers, and some of these have even more tools. Everyone should have at least one multi-tool in their bug out kit or their evacuation kit. Another tool that should be in the backpack is a small camper's trowel. You may have to take care of your business and bury that in a hole, so you want something to dig with, very lightweight, so a camper's trowel. All right, so let's go outside. I want to take a look at some equipment that we should have to help protect the house during a hurricane. You need to take care of your house during a storm. Sometimes things happen, sometimes things break. Some of the tools that you should have or pieces of equipment that you should have to help do that include tarps. You should have several tarps. They come in different sizes, different styles. This one here is a 5x7. This one is larger. This is 2 tarps here. So you should have tarps of different sizes. They're great for covering the roof, covering different maybe windows that get damaged. Very many uses for tarps. How many should you have? I don't know if there is a maximum number. I've got quite a few. If you have too many, you might have a neighbor that needs one. So get tarps. They're cheap. They store well. Another thing you should have is plastic sheeting. I have plastic sheeting in case a window breaks. So we can attach this to the window to close that to keep the weather out during the storm. We can't go out during the storm, but at least we can protect the house and minimize any damage. So everyone should have several different rolls, different sizes. Make sure you've got some thick sheeting. If it's not thick, you can double it up. How do you attach the sheeting? You need nails, staple gun, you need different devices. So everyone should have a staple gun with plenty of staples. But in addition, I suggest using firm strips to help strengthen the plastic. You really don't want, with the wind blowing against the plastic, to have just a couple of small staples holding that plastic sheet in. The furring strip will help disperse the strength across the entire length or the entire width of the strip. So, have several furring strips, have them pre-cut, ready to go, throw them in the shed, throw them in the garage. Also, if you take a look at our patio, you'll see there's lots of furniture. Not everything can make it inside. So you want to make sure you have some way to secure that material so the wind doesn't take it away and it create a hazard for you, for your home. Okay, so have plenty of rope, plenty of way to secure whatever does have to stay outside. And let's see, duct tape, you want to have duct tape as well. And plywood, I almost forgot about the plywood. If you can, before the storm hits, you want to put plywood over the windows. How thick of plywood? Well, studies have shown that it needs to be at least 3/4 inch thick. Otherwise, hurricane storm winds will take an object and will bust through a 3/8 or a smaller type, or smaller thickness plywood. You could double up the 3/8, but you need to get to that 3/4 inch thick. Anything less is not going to be sufficient. So when you put the plywood on your windows, make sure it's 3/4 inch thick. All right, let's go inside. During a hurricane, you may have broken windows. There may be flooding. You can have a number of different hazards that you need to be aware of. There may be down power lines. There may be other electrical hazards, blown transformers. You may have some sewage backed up from overflowing sewage systems. You could have floating broken timber, glass, just a number of different hazards. You need to protect yourself. So a couple of things that we need to have. Work gloves. Make sure that you've got a good set of work gloves, either at home or in your backpack kit. N95 masks or dust masks. From COVID, we're all very familiar with what those are, so we should have some N95 masks as well. Some contractor bags. Those are trash bags. They're a little thicker, a little larger to help you handle the debris. You should also have extinguishers of the ABC type, and make sure you've got rain gear. If you're evacuating, the work gloves again, N95 contractor bags, fire extinguisher. You should have emergency ponchos if you're evacuating, and make sure that you've got some type of insect repellent. If you're stuck out on the streets, out on the highways, you want to make sure that the bugs don't eat you alive. I want to make a brief point about security. I'm not going to get too deep into security because it's a very sensitive subject with a lot of people, but you want to make sure that you take measures to protect your family. There's chaos and potential for problems during emergencies, whether it's a hurricane or other type of emergencies. So make sure you take steps to protect you, protect your family, whether that's firearms, or if you're not into firearms, make sure you've got mace or pepper spray or something, and make sure you've got the skills to use those. So we talk about a lot of equipment. I want to talk about how to store and how to carry that equipment. You want to make sure that this equipment is in a place where you know it is, where you can get to it easily during an emergency. So during a hurricane, that's not the time to be finding your stuff. I've got a plastic tote here. You can get these at any home improvement store, Walmart, stores like that. This is a great container for storing your home emergency supplies. Your evacuation kits should be in backpacks. Every family member that can walk should be able to have a backpack. Obviously, the little ones are going to have little backpacks. They can carry some of their own stuff. Naturally, you're going to put some things in the car, but the backpack should be a standalone kit so that if you have to park the car and you have to leave, you don't have to go through your gear. You just grab your backpack and go. That's the ideal situation that you want to aim for. The backpack is standalone. Feel free to put more stuff in your car if you want to, but set up the backpack as a standalone evacuation kit for each family member. On the first aid, if you're evacuating, you should have a small individual first aid kit for each family member. This one here is designed to attach to the backpack. Makes it very easy to carry. It's also easy to find when I need it. For staying at home, we have a larger kit with more supplies, more capabilities. You also want to try to find the time to learn how to do first aid CPR so that you can use this equipment properly. All right, we've covered a lot of information, so bear with me. We've got a little bit more to go because we want to make sure that you're prepared and that you've covered all your bases. We're going to talk a little bit about hygiene and sanitation right now. One of the things that you want to have, whether you're staying in or evacuating, is some latex gloves or some medical gloves. Have several pair. These are disposable. One box may have 100, so have a box or two. These are different sizes. Make sure you've got different sizes for different people. If you're outside cleaning up, like I had mentioned, there could be an overflow of sewage or other contaminants. You want to make sure that you're protected. You could have the same problem if you're on the road, so have some latex gloves. Some way to clean yourself, especially in your evacuation kit. These are body wipes. So body wipes or hand wipes are easy way to clean yourself. For the house, yes, I'm going to talk about poo. A toilet kit in case the sewage system does go down. We don't know how bad could be. So this is a toilet. In this, I put my supplies. I've got spare toilet paper. I've got wipes to wipe my hands. I've got a bottle so I can put my bleach solution to clean. And I've got plastic bags. Those are actually diaper bags. So I've got the complete kit all together as a standalone. We want to make sure that we take care of that aspect. We also want to make sure that we've got adequate feminine supplies and personal hygiene, such as toothbrush and toothpaste. Now, you should probably have those at home, the toothbrush, toothpaste, and all that. You want to make sure you get those into your bags, into your evacuation kit as well. Hand sanitizer, soap, towels. We want to evacuate with those, make sure we've got enough. And I had mentioned bleach. Bleach is a great sanitizer. It's also a disinfectant for the water. So we should have some household bleach. Want to make sure we get the bleach with no colors, no additives, just straight bleach. If we're using it to disinfect, like in that spray bottle that I had shown, we want to mix that. And I want to make sure I get these numbers right. 1 part bleach to 9 parts water. So we want to cut that down. If you're going to treat our water, 16 drops of bleach to 1 gallon of water. And that'll disinfect the water. Evacuating, we want to bring those things with us. A couple of extra items. Let's see. You want to make sure that you've got a complete change of clothing that's appropriate for your climate. Make sure you've got sturdy shoes. You may possibly be walking. So make sure you've got appropriate shoes for that. And the other items that I mentioned, you also want to make sure you've got smaller versions in your pack. For medical, you should have prescriptions, at least a 14 to a 30-day supply. Just because the power comes back on does not mean your pharmacy is going to be resupplied. If the hurricane is bad and the devastation is pretty severe, you may have to go a little bit longer without your prescriptions. So you should try to get up to a 30-day supply of your prescription. Make sure you've got extra supply of over-the-counter meds as well. Tylenol. For me, I'm an Aleve guy, and I've got Aleve in my backpack. Prescription eyeglasses, contact lens solutions, extra batteries for the hearing aid. Any of those medical supplies you know what you need, make sure you've got extra put away in your evacuation bag. Make sure you've got extra put away in your hurricane bug-in kit. For communication, sometimes communication systems go down. You want to have a plan on how to communicate with family members. You want to have a plan on what family members should be doing if you can't communicate. So if you've got a kid in high school and the phones are down and they can't get a hold of you, what should that kid do? They should know that in advance. One of the best devices that you can get for communication, for receiving information, is a hand crank radio. This has got the NOAA weather radio on this. Doesn't need electricity. You just hand crank and that charges the battery. This one also has a flashlight. This one also charges by solar as well. So a couple different options, but this has got different radio capabilities so that you can get information. You also want to have two-way radios. If you're at home or if you're in the vehicle and cell phones are down and you need to communicate, you want a backup system to communicate. Have a couple of handheld radios so that you can communicate when you're out of verbal range. And if you need to signal for help, a couple other things will help you. One's a whistle, so you can get people's attention. It might be night, you might be flooding, and a rescue boat is coming by, and there's other noise, the noise of the engine, you want to get their attention, so you should have a whistle with you. Another thing you should have is a small signal mirror. Give you an example, during Katrina, you might some people were on the roof trying to get the attention of helicopters, so a little signal mirror, you can reflect the sunlight to that aircraft. They can find out where you're at and you can get rescued. So a signal mirror, a whistle, two-way radio, and an emergency radio would help with your communication plan. All right, if you're staying put in a hurricane, we have talked before that you could lose power. When you lose power, it means you lose lights. So you need some way to light your house if you're staying put, you're staying in, you're bugging in your house. One way is candles. I particularly like this UCO original hurricane lantern. Pops up into a lantern. They've got the single candle. As you can see, the candle fits right in there. And they've got a brighter one that has 3 candles inside. Excellent, very safe, easy to use. So make sure you've got some candles. You also want several different lanterns. You want battery type and you want rechargeable. Notice on this, I've got my recharging equipment attached to this so that I don't misplace it during an emergency. So, rechargeable batteries. You want to have spare batteries for your flashlights, for your lanterns. This flashlight is a high power flashlight. It'll help me see outside at night. Smaller flashlights are also useful. This one here, you just shake it and it creates its own electricity, so I don't have to worry about running out there. I like to have light sticks. These are chem sticks where you break it and shake it, and you can have between 8 and 12 hours of light. They're low levels of light, but it's real nice. If you need to light up the living room or light up part of the house, you break one of these, you hang it, and you'll be able to see where the furniture is. You're not going to trip over things. You can't read a book with this, but it will give you a low level of light. Everyone should have a headlamp in their emergency kit, whether it's your evacuation kit or whether it's your stay-at-home kit. The reason for this is during the dark, you may have to do some work. You may have to repair a broken window. You may have to be hanging a tarp. You may have to do something outside. There might be emergency work. and you want to have both hands free. You put the headlamp on, you've got light where you need it, and both your hands are free to work. So that's the kit for staying in the house. For evacuating, you're going to stick with the flashlights, the headlamp, spare batteries, and the glow stick. One of the things we really didn't talk about yet, but we've hinted at, is before hurricane season, you want to come up with a plan. You should have an evacuation plan. You should have a plan for who's going to stay at the house. And again, make sure you understand what gear you have and what gear you need. If you're evacuating, your plan should be in writing. And we're going to talk about that at the end of this. But you should also know where you're going to go and have alternate routes to get there. You should have paper maps. You can't rely on your phones or the electronic systems to be able to give you the maps. So as a backup, always have paper maps and know how to use them. You should also have a compass. And again, make sure you learn how to use that. It's a good fun activity for kids to learn how to use those. So local maps, primary and alternate routes, have a compass. Make sure you know where you're going, have a primary destination and an alternate destination. Next thing I want to talk about is documentation. If you're going to evacuate, or even if you're staying in, you need to protect your documents. I've got the Dock Fortress. This packet here is waterproof, fire resistant. So some of the documents that you should store in here: insurance policies, medication list, other medical information, proof of ID, deed or lease to the house, passports, birth certificates, family and emergency contact info, laminated copy of the emergency plan, laminated copy of your equipment checklist, bank account, credit card information. So anything that's important to your survival, to your recovery from the hurricane, you want to store copies in a kit like this Document Fortress. A few other comments on things that we didn't really touch on, and that's with kids and with the pets. You want to make sure that you've got good, fun food for the kids. This could be a stressful time for them. You want to keep them engaged. Have games, have activities. Again, their cell phones may not be available. Have backup, have playing cards, have board games. Have something that'll help keep them busy, and have fun food. Try to make a fun time out of it. Dogs may also be stressed out. Cats may be stressed out. Other pets, I don't know if fish get stressed, but dog and cats do. So you want to be able to have something for them, maybe a special treat that will help alleviate that stress. Make sure if you're evacuating, take care of your pets. If you're going to a shelter, you may not be able to take them with you. Most likely you can't. So have a plan for your pets. If you're going on the road to maybe a family member's house, have food and water in the car for them, and make sure you've got bowls for them. They do have collapsible bowls that are easy to store. So you want to take care of the pet, and you want to take care of the children. If you've got young ones, make sure you've got emergency supplies of infant formula bottles, diapers, wipes, and diaper rash cream, and whatever else you need. Make sure you've got the supplies to last 3 days. If you're bugging out, make sure you've got enough for a couple of weeks if you're staying in. A couple other items. Cash. Computer systems, credit card systems may be down. Have some cash in your evacuation kit. Make sure you've got small bills. The store may not be able to give you change, so have different denominations. Have a paper and pencil. Write in the Rain is a type of pencil that's good for storms. Extra set of car keys. Have a camera. Typically you can use your phone, especially if you're charged up with the solar charger. You can use your phone to take pictures of damage. So the last item I want to mention is priceless items, photos, and valuables, things like that. You want to make sure that you take care of those. Have a plan to keep those secure as well. So before you go, you can see that I've been working off of this checklist that we've developed here at Strategic Prepper. I'd love to send you a copy of this. All I ask is that you give me your email address so I can send you the PDF copy of this document. Leave that in the comment section below. This is a 6-page with information on each of the areas for preparedness. And at the end, I include an outline for your own family plan to help you put that together in a nice, easy format. Also, leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you could. Thanks, stay safe, and stay prepared.